Do you remember how they said the night of the election there was a timeline shift? They had like these graphs with spikes in energy. And they said, see, here it is. It's a timeline shift. It wasn't a timeline shift, but I know what it was. This morning I had a conversation with my mom. My mom is extremely anointed and prophetic. She's not on TikTok. She's a 76-year-old woman. She doesn't even know half of the content I make. But she called me because after the election, she got some things from the Lord. And it was things that I was also getting. And things that I'm hearing from other Christians they were getting. She said, you know, when you prophesy, you only prophesy in part. Other people have to fill in blanks and tell you what they're getting too. So I'm going to give you little bits. I can't go into great detail because I'm not really released to do that. But little bits I'm allowed to do. I can't use names and I have to choose my words carefully. Number one, that was a spiritual shift, and it happened the night of the election on purpose. No, it's not that I think the United States is some big, huge player in the end times. They do play a part. I made a video the day before the election. It's still on my page, and I said, no matter who wins, God is on the throne, and ultimately, that person will lead us into the end times. I'm a conservative, and a conservative won. But does that mean I should just be happy and think that we're not going into the end times? No. I think that God allowed Christians to see things and not see things until after the election. I'm not going to say it was like a veil being lifted, but what I will say is that in the Old Testament, God used a lying spirit to fulfill his purpose, to get whatever needed done. And I believe that the night of the election, that whatever that was blocking was lifting and things were going into place, because this ultimately is going to further us to where God needs us to be. Now, number two, something else that her and I talked about, persecution. She doesn't know anything about the stuff that I make unless I call her and ask her for scripture advice, or to confirm something like a meaning of a scripture. And so she said, persecution is coming and you need to be careful. You need to choose your words wisely and watch what you say. And I said, well, yeah, I do. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I just made that video Saturday where I specifically named someone as the Antichrist, or I had a theory. Let me tell you what happened to that video. Yes, it is still up. It was getting 10 to 15,000 views an hour. It went viral. Within less than 48 hours, it had like 650,000 views. And then I heard from TikTok. They basically, quote unquote, killed it. No more views. Not even the follow-ups I've made to respond in the comment section on that video have been watched. Whenever I was praying about it, I really felt like God was like, you don't think that the people in power have social media? Their people don't have social media? But that persecution, what that's going to look like is there's going to be a record of everything you've said on platforms with your own mouth. And it's going to be retroactive. If it comes in 5 years, they can go back 5 years and see what you said. And there will have to be a price paid for everything you've said, not only physically, but in the spiritual, meaning, you know, you're opening yourself up to these attacks. You're going to get to a place where you're not going to be able to freely have conversations about who the Antichrist is, what the mark of the beast is. You're going to have to rely on the knowledge that you have and your discernment. So sharpen both. Now let's get back to those spiritual attacks I just talked about. Number three, a dark time. We talked about it going to be a dark, dark time. Well, what do you mean you have a conservative president and, you know, a praying president? Doesn't mean that we're not moving into the end times. And that's because of my last and final point that she told me she got. The person who's in control is not in control this time. The person who's really going to be in control is a globalist with that global agenda of one world currency, one world religion. You remember in The Wizard of Oz how everybody thought the Wizard of Oz was this great and powerful man that they saw. And really, it was just a guy behind a curtain. And he was really running the show, pulling all the switches. There is somebody that's going to be pulling all the switches behind the curtain. It's not going to be who we think. And the reason that they're doing that is because they have an agenda. And it's not just in our country, but it's in every country. And in a few years, we're going to lose the ability to have that conversation about who we think that might be. I know it. So prepare yourself, because we're moving into end times. I believe that. And I think if they keep getting those little timeline shifts, which I really believe are spiritual shifts, going to be up against a lot of dark forces, and we're going to be in the body ready to go home. And I think that's another reason why God speeds up time in the end. Now, I may lose my account. I'm not sure yet. I made a backup, and I've said this before. Please go find it and follow it. I'm going to be moving into doing podcasts again next week on YouTube. My YouTube page is in my link tree, and I plan to talk about nothing but end times, prophecy, eschatology, rapture, Antichrist, Mark of the Beast stuff. Go follow me, YouTube. Be careful what you put in the comments if you want to comment. Please share this. I love you all. I'll see you soon.